Scripture portions of the day. Day 327.
Matthew 10, OANT. And he called his 12 disciples, and he gave them authority over foul spirits, to cast them out, and heal every ailment and disease. But the name of the 12 apostles were these: the first of them, Simeon, who was called Kepha, Andreas, his brother, and Jacob bar Zebedee, and Johanan, his brother, and Philibus bar Ptolemy, and Thomas, and Mattei the tax collector, and Jacob bar Halphi, and Lebiah, who was called Thadai, and Simeon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariota, he who betrayed him. These 12 Yeshua sent, and he commanded them. And he said, You shall not go out by a road of the heathen, and you shall not enter a city of the Samaritans, but go especially to the sheep that have been lost of the house of Israel. As you are going, preach and say, Kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, purify the lepers, cast out demons. Freely as you have received, freely give. You shall not retain gold, neither silver nor copper in your money bags, neither wallet for any way, nor 2 coats, neither shoes, nor staff, for laborer is worthy of his provisions. Whichever city or village you enter, ask who is worthy of it, and stay there until you leave. And when you enter a household, invoke the peace of the household. And if that household is worthy, your blessing of peace will come upon it. But if not, your blessing of peace will return to you. But whosoever does not receive you, neither listens to your words, when you depart from the house or from the village, shake the sand off your feet. And truly I say to you, it will be tranquil in the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, compared to that city. Behold, I am sending you as lambs amongst wolves. Be therefore crafty as snakes, and innocent as doves. And beware of the children of men, that they will deceive you to the courts, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And they will bring you before governors and kings, because of me, for their testimony, and of the Gentiles. But when you arrest you, do not be anxious how or what you will speak, for it will be given to you in that hour what you should say. For it will not be to you speaking, but for the Spirit of your Father speaking in you. But brother will deliver brother to death, and father his son, and children will rise against their parents, and will put them to death. And you will be hated by everyone because of my name, but whoever will endure to the end, he will be saved. But when they persecuted you in the city, flee to another. For truly I say to you, you will not have finished all the cities of the house of Israel, until the Son of Man come. No disciple is greater than his master, neither a servant than his Lord. It is enough for a disciple to be like his master, and a servant to be like his Lord. If they have called the Lord of the house Beelzebub, how much more the children of his household? Therefore you shall not be afraid of them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that it will not be known. Whatever I tell you in darkness, say it in the light. Whatever you hear in your ears, preach to the rooftops. And you shall not be afraid of those who kill the body. They are not able to kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of him who can destroy the soul and the body in Gehenna. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny, and not one of them falls to the ground apart from the Father? But your hair on your head are numbered. You shall not be afraid, therefore. You are better than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who will confess me before children of men, I shall confess him before the Father who is in heaven. But whoever will deny me before the children of men, I will deny him before my Father who is in heaven. Think not that I have come to bring peace in the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. I have come to divide a man against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be the members of his household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son and daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And everyone who does not take his cross and come after me is not worthy of me. Whoever will find his life will lose it, and whoever will lose his life for my sake will find it. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. Whoever receives a prophet in the name of the prophet receives the reward of a prophet, and whoever receives the righteous one in the name of the righteous one receives the reward of the righteous one. And everyone who gives one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only to drink, in the name of a disciple, amen, I say to you, he will not lose his reward. Deuteronomy 28, Septuagint. And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt indeed hear the voice of Jehovah thy Elohim, to observe and do all these commands which I charge thee this day, that Jehovah thy Elohim shall set thee high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon thee, and shall find thee, if thou wilt indeed do and hear the voice of Jehovah thy Elohim. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the offspring of their body, and the fruits of thy hand, and the herds of thy oxen, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy barns and their stores. Blessed shall thou be coming in and when they go out. Jehovah deliver thine enemies that withstand thee, utterly broken before thy face. And they shall come out against thee one way, but they shall leave 7 ways from before thee. Jehovah send upon thee his blessings in the barns, and all that which is thou hast put on their hands, and in the land which Jehovah thy Elohim gives thee. Jehovah raise thee up for himself a holy people, as he sware to thy fathers, if thou shalt hear his voice of Jehovah thy Elohim, and walk in his ways. And all the nations of the earth shall see thee, and the name of Jehovah is called upon thee, and they shall stand in awe of thee. And Jehovah thy Elohim shall multiply thee for good in the offspring of thy body, and in the offspring of thy cattle, and the firstfruits of thy land, and the land which Jehovah sware to thy fathers to give thee. May Jehovah open to thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give rain to thy land in season, that he may bless all the works of thy hand, so that he may lend many nations, but those shall not borrow. And thou shalt rule over many nations, but they shall not rule thee. Jehovah thy Elohim shall make thee head, and not the tail. And thou shalt be above, and thou shalt not be below. If thou wilt hearken to the voice of Jehovah thy Elohim, in all things that I charge thee this day to observe, thou shalt not turn aside from any of the commandments which I charge thee this day, and the right hand to the left, and to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass that if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of Jehovah thy Elohim, to observe all his commandments, and as many as I charge thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee, and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, cursed shall thou be in the field, cursed shall be in thy barns, cursed shall be the offspring of thy body, and the fruits of thy land, and the herds of thine oxen, and flocks, and sheep. Cursed shall ye be in the coming in, and cursed shall ye be on the going out. Jehovah thy Elohim send upon thee want, and famine, and consumption of all things, on which thou shalt put thy hand, until he has utterly destroyed thee, until he hath consumed thee quickly of all thine evil devices, because thou hast forsaken thee. Jehovah shall cause the pestilence to cleave to thee, until he has consumed thee off the land, which thou go to inherit it. Jehovah smite thee with distress, and fever, and cold, inflammation, and blight, and paleness, and they shall pursue thee until they have destroyed thee. And thou shalt have over thine head a sky of brass, and the earth underneath shall be as iron. Jehovah thy Elohim make the rain on the land dust, and dust shalt thou come down from heaven, until it shall have been destroyed thee, and until it shall quickly consume thee. Jehovah give thee for slaughter before thine enemies. Thou shalt not go out against them one way, and flee from the face 7 ways. And thou shalt be dispersed in all the kingdoms of the earth. And your dead men shall be food for the birds of the sky, and the beasts of the earth, and there shall be none to scare them away. Jehovah smite thee with the botch of Egypt, in the seat, and the malignant scab, and itch, and thou canst be healed. Jehovah smite thee with insanity, and blindness, and astonishment of mind. Then thou shalt be groping in the midday, and blind man shall grope in the darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And then thou shalt be unjustly treated, and plunder continually, and there shall be no helper. And thou wilt take a wife, and another man will have her. And you shall build a house, and thou shalt not dwell in it. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes of it. And thy calf shall be slain before thee, and thou shalt not eat it. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from thee, and thou shalt not be able to restore thee. Thy sheep shall be given to thine enemies, and thou shalt have no helper. And thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another nation, and thine eyes, wasting away, shall look upon them. Thy hand shall have no strength. A nation which thou knowest not shall eat the produce of thy land, and all thy labors and thou shalt be injured and crushed always, and thou shalt be distracted, because of the sights of thy eyes which thou shalt see. Jehovah smite thee with an evil sore, and the knees and the legs, and thou shalt not be able to be healed in the sole of thy foot, to the crown of thy head. Jehovah carry thee away, and thy princes, whom thou shalt set over thee, to the nation which neither thou thy fathers known, and they shall serve other gods, wood and stone. And it shall be therefore a wonder and a parable and a tale among all the nations, to which Jehovah thy Elohim shall carry thee away. And thou shalt carry forth much seed into the field, and that shall bring in little, because of the locust shall devour it. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, dress it, thou shalt drink the wine, neither shalt thou delight thyself with it, because the worm has devoured it. Thou shalt have olive trees in thy borders, and thou shalt not anoint thee with oil, because the olive shall utterly cast its fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, and they shall not be thine, for they shall depart into captivity. And all thy trees and the fruit of thy land shall be blight consumed. The stranger that is within thee shall get up very high, and thou shalt come down very low. And he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. And thou shalt be for the head, and thou shalt be for the tail. And these are the curses that shall come upon thee, and they shall pursue thee, and shall overtake thee until he has consumed thee, until he have destroyed thee, because thou didst not hearken to the voice of Jehovah thy Elohim, to keep his commands and his ordinance, which he hath commanded thee. And these things which thou shall be assigned to thee in wonders amongst thy seed forever, because thou didst not serve Jehovah thy Elohim with gladness and good heart, because of the abundance of all things. And thou shalt serve thine enemies, and which Jehovah thy will send forth against thee, in hunger and thirst and nakedness, in the want of all things. And thou shalt wear upon thy neck a yoke of iron till he hath destroyed thee. Jehovah shall bring upon thee a nation from an extremity of the earth, like the swift flying of an eagle, a nation whose voice shall not understand, a nation bold in countenance, which shall not respect the persons of an aged, and should not have pity to the young. And ye shall eat up the young of thy cattle, and of the first fruits of the land, so as not to leave them corn, wine, oil, herds of thine oxen, and the flocks of the sheep, until ye shall be destroyed thee, and have utterly crushed thee in the cities, until high and strong walls be destroyed, which thou hast trusted. In all thy land it shall be as to thee in thy cities. And thou shalt eat the fruit of the body, and flesh of thy sons and thy daughters, and all he that giveth thee in all the straitness and all the affliction, which thine enemies shall afflict thee. He that is tender and very delicate within thee shall look with an evil eye upon his brother, and the wife of thy bosom, and the children that are left, which have been left to him, so as not give to one of them of the flesh of the children whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left to him in thy straitness, and thy affliction, which thou, thy enemy, shall afflict thee in all thy cities. And she is tender and delicate among you, whose foot has not essayed to go upon the earth, for delicacy and tenderness shall look upon the evil eye of her husband, in her bosom, and her son and her daughter, and her offspring shall come up between her feet, and the child which she shall bear, and she shall eat them because of the want of all things, secretly in the straitness, and in thy affliction, with which thine enemies shall afflict thee in thy cities, if thou wilt not hearken to all the words of the law, which has been written in this book, to fear this glorious and wonderful name, Jehovah thy Elohim. Then Jehovah shall magnify this plague, and the plagues of thy seed, great and wonderful plagues, an evil abiding disease. And he shall bring upon thee all the evils planned of Egypt, which thou hast been afraid, and they shall cleave to thee. And Jehovah shall bring thee upon every sickness, every plague that is not written, every one that is written in the book of the law, until he hath destroyed thee. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of the sky in multitude, because thou didst not hearken to the voice of Jehovah thy Elohim. And it shall come to pass, as Jehovah rejoiced over you to do good, and to multiply you, so Jehovah will rejoice over you to destroy you. And ye shall be quickly removed from the land into which you go to inherit,
And Jehovah thy Elohim shall scatter thee amongst all the nations, from one end of the earth to the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone, which thou didst not know, nor thy fathers. Moreover, those nations will not give thee quiet, neither by the means shall the sole of the foot shall rest. And Yeshua, Jehovah, shall give thee another and a misgiving heart, failing eyes, and a wasteful soul. And thy life shall be as in suspense before thine eyes, and thou shalt be afraid by day and by night, and thou shalt have no assurance in thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would it be evening? In the evening thou shalt say, would it be morning? For the fear of thine heart which is thou hast shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou now seest. And Jehovah shall bring thee back into Egypt in ships, by the way which I said, thou shalt not see it again, and you shall be sold there in your enemies, for bondsmen and bondswomen, and shall not buy.
Zechariah 5, Septuagint. And I turned and lifted up my eyes, and looked, and behold, a flying sickle. And he said to me, what seest thou? And I said, I see a flying sickle, at the length of 20 cubits, and the breadth of 10 cubits. And he said to me, this is the curse that goes forth over the face of the whole earth. For every thief shall be perished with death on his side, and every false swear shall be punished on that side. And I will bring it forth, said Jehovah Almighty, and it shall enter in the house of the thief, and into the house of him that swears falsely by my name. And it shall rest in the midst of his house, and shall consume it, and the timber of it, and the stones of it. An angel talked with me, and went forth, and said to me, lift up thine eyes, and see this that goes forth. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is the measure that goes forth. And he said, this is their iniquity in all the earth. And behold, a talent of lead lifted up, and behold, a woman sat on the midst of the measure. And he said, this is iniquity. And he cast it into the midst of the measure, and cast the weight of lead on the mouth of it. And I lifted up my eyes, and saw, and behold, 2 women coming forth, and the wind was in their wings, and they had storks' wings, and they lifted up the measure between the earth and the sky. And I said to the angel that spoke with me, whither do these carry away the measure? And he said to me, to build it a house in the land of Babylon, and to prepare a place for it, and they shall set it there on his own base. Zechariah 6, Septuagint. And I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, 4 chariots coming out of between 2 mountains, and the mountains were brazen mountains. And in the first chariot were red horses, and the second chariot black horses, and in the third chariot white horses, and the fourth chariot piebald, and ash-colored horses. And I answered and said to the angel that talked with me, what are these, my Jehovah? And the angel that talked with me answered and said, these are the 4 winds of the heavens, and they are going forth to stand before Jehovah of all the earth. And as the chariot in which were the black horses, they went out to the lands of the north, and the white went out after them, and the piebald went after to the land of the south. And the ash-colored went out and looked to go and encompass the earth. And he said, go, encompass the earth, and they encompassed the earth. And he cried out and spoke to me, saying, behold, these go out of the land in the north, and they shall be quieted my anger in the land of the north. And the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, take the things of the captivity of the chief of men, and for the useful men of it, and from them that have understood it, and thou shalt enter in the day of the house of Josias the son of Sophonias, and came out of Babylon. And thou shalt take silver and gold, and make crowns, and thou shalt put them upon the head of Yeshua the son of Zedek the high priest. And thou shalt say to him, thus saith Jehovah Almighty, behold, the man whose name is in the branch, and he shall spring up in this stem, and build the house of Jehovah. And he shall receive power, and shall sit and rule on his throne, and there shall be as a priest on his right hand, and peaceable counselor shall be between them both. And the crown shall be to them that wait patiently, and to the useful men of the captivity, and to them that have known it, and for the favor of the son of Sophonias, and for the psalms in the house of Jehovah. And they that are far from them shall come and build in the house of Jehovah, and they shall know that Jehovah Almighty has sent to you, and this shall come to pass, if ye will diligently hearken to the voice of Jehovah your Elohim.
Proverbs 20, Septuagint. Wine is an interpret thing, strong drink, full of violence, but every fool is entangled with them. The threat of a king differs not from the rage of a lion, and he that provokes him sins against his own soul. It is the glory of man to turn aside from railing, but every fool is entangled with such matters. A sluggard, when approached, is not ashamed, so also he who borrows corn in harvest. Counsel in a man's heart is deep water, but a prudent man will draw it out. A man is valuable, and a merciful man precious, but it is hard to find a faithful man. He that walks blameless in justice shall leave his children blessed. Whenever a righteous king sits on the throne, no evil thing can stand before his presence. Who will boast that he has a pure heart, and who will boldly say that he is pure from sin? A large and small weight and diverse measures are even both of them unclean before Jehovah, and so is he that makes them. A youth, when in company with godly man, will be restrained in his own devices, and then his ways shall be straight. The ear hears, the eye sees, even both of them are Jehovah's work. Love not to speak ill, lest thou be cut off, since thine eyes, and be filled with bread. The lamp of him that reviles father or mother shall be put out, and his eyeballs shall see darkness. A portion hastily gotten at first shall not be blessed in the end. Say not, I will avenge myself on my enemy, but wait on Jehovah, that he may help thee. A double weight is an abomination to Jehovah, and a deceitful balance is not good in his sight. A man's goings are directed of Jehovah. How then can a mortal man understand his ways? It is a snare to a man hastily to consecrate some of his own property, for in that case repentance comes after vowing. A wise king utterly crushes the ungodly, and will bring a weal upon them. The spirit of man is the light of Jehovah, who searches the inmost parts of the belly. Mercy and truth are the guard to the king, and will surround his throne with righteousness. Wisdom is an ornament to young men, and gray hairs are the glory of old men. Bruises and contusions befall bad men, and plagues shall become in the inward parts of their bellies.
Proverbs 21, Septuagint. As a rush of water, so is the king's heart in Elohim's hand. He turns it wherever he may desire to point out. Every man seems to himself righteous, but Jehovah directs the hearts, to do justly, and to speak truth. More are pleasing to Elohim than the blood of sacrifices. A high-minded man is a stout-hearted in his pride, and the lamp of the wicked is sin. He that gathers treasures with a lying tongue pursues vanity on the snares of death. Destruction shall lodge with the ungodly, for they refuse to do justly. To the froward Elohim sends froward ways. To his works are pure and right. It is better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than it is in plastered rooms with unrighteousness and with an open house. The soul of the ungodly shall not be pitied by any man. When an intemperate man is punished, the simple becomes wiser, and the wise man understands will receive knowledge. A righteous man understands the heart of the ungodly, and despises the ungodly for their wickedness. He that stops his heart from hearing from the poor, himself also shall cry, and there shall be none to hear him. A secret gift calms anger, but he that forbears to give stirs up strong wrath. It is the joy of the righteous to do judgment, but a holy man is abomination to evildoers. A man that wanders out of the way of righteousness shall rest in the congregation of giants. A poor man gives mirth, loving wine, oil in abundance, and the transgressor is the abomination of the righteous man. But it is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a quarrelsome and talkative and passionate wife. A desirable treasure will rest in the mouth of the wise, but a fool foolish men will swallow it up. The way of righteousness and mercy will find life and glory. A wise man assaults strong cities and demolishes fortresses in which the ungodly trusted. He that keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps his soul from trouble. But a self-willed and insulated man is also called a pest. He that remembers injuries is a transgressor. Desire, kill the sluggard, for his hands do not choose to do anything. A godly man entertains evil desires all day, but the righteous is unsparing, merciful, and compassionate. The sacrifices of the ungodly are abomination to Jehovah, for they offer them wickedly. A false witness shall perish, but an obedient man will speak cautiously. An ungodly man imprudently withstands his face, but the upright man himself understands his ways. There is no wisdom, there is no courage, there is no counsel against the ungodly. A horse is prepared for the day of battle, but help is of Jehovah.